Hey you, and welcome back to the deep dive.
Hello.
So today we're diving into something, well, pretty relatable, figuring out where to eat out.
Always a challenge.
Yep, we're an opportunity.
Exactly. And we've got some interesting material here. It's actually from an English learning dialogue, plus some vocabulary notes that go with it.
Right.
So our mission basically is to pull out the useful language, sure, but also to really get into that, that little dance we do when we're suggesting restaurants or talking about where to go.
Yeah. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Just picking a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually think about it, there's so much going on. Your tastes, what you think the other person wants, maybe past experiences. It gets complicated fast.
It really does.
And it's fascinating how just talking about dinner plans can reveal so much about, well, communication itself, how we express what we want, how we deal with other people's suggestions.
Okay, so let's set the scene from this dialogue. We've got two people, they're making evening plans, need a restaurant.
The first idea thrown out is an Italian place, described as having fantastic food and beautiful decor.
Sounds pretty good, right? Nice food, nice atmosphere. That's often the starting point for a recommendation.
You paint a nice picture, but the response is, actually, I'm not all that crazy about Italian food.
Aha!
And adds, I'm in the mood for something a bit lighter.
Right there, that's key. It's not just about your perfect restaurant, it's about what the other person feels like, right then.
In the mood for. That really captures it. And not all that crazy about, that's a useful one.
It really is. It's quite gentle, isn't it? A polite way to say, no thanks, without just shutting it down.
Keeps things moving.
Exactly. It avoids making the suggester feel bad. And yeah, in the mood for, our cravings change, don't they? That sounds great one day.
Is the last thing you want the next. So true. Okay, so Italians out. Suggestion number 2.
A great little bistro, mentioned specifically. A really tasty seafood platter. And outstanding fish.
Tasty. Outstanding. Sounds promising again.
It does. But then we hit another snag. The reply is, it sounds fantastic, but I'm allergic to seafood.
Ah, okay, that's a big one. Allergies. That shifts things from preference to necessity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And the material defines allergic, clearly food that makes you sick. It's not just a dislike, it's a real physical reaction. You can't just, ignore that.
Definitely not. Clear communication is vital there.
For safety, yeah.
So, no Italian, no seafood. The next idea is, well, a bit different. It's a great little place, but described as just a hole in the wall.
Okay, hole in the wall. Often implies it's maybe not fancy, perhaps small, but potentially has amazing food.
And that's exactly the claim. The most amazing sandwiches.
Sounds like a hidden gem.
But there's history here. The response is basically, wait, you took me there last time and I got food poisoning.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a game changer.
Totally. Suddenly those amazing sandwiches don't sound so amazing anymore.
No kidding. And the dialogue defines food poisoning, too. Getting sick from bad bacteria in food. That past negative experience it trumps everything else.
It really does. It makes you think about trust, doesn't it? If the person recommending the place was also there when you got sick.
Yeah, that's a hurdle. It shows how recommendations aren't just about objective quality. It's the whole experience, the perceived risk based on what happened before.
So how do you even respond to that if you're the one who suggested it? The dialogue doesn't quite tell us that part.
No, it leaves it hanging. But you'd imagine, probably an apology. Or at least quickly moving on to another idea. Definitely needs some sensitivity.
For sure. Okay, let's maybe pivot slightly and look at some of the specific language used. Thinking of checking out a restaurant.
Right. The explanation says it means look at or go see.
And the examples are good. Checking out a new cafe, a car, a mall. It's pretty broad.
Yeah, it's often used when you're sort of exploring an option, isn't it? Like you're curious, maybe going to investigate, but haven't decided firmly yet.
That sounds right. Then there's bistro, defined as small, not cheap, but not too pricey, often French.
It gives you a specific image, doesn't it? More than just saying restaurant. It suggests a certain vibe, maybe a certain menu style. Useful shorthand.
And we already talked about not all that crazy about. The examples given were things like shopping or jazz music.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that polite refusal, that lack of strong enthusiasm rather than outright dislike.
Why do you think we reach for those softer phrases so often?
Well, I think it's often about just keeping the social wheels greased. Saying I hate jazz might feel a bit blunt, a bit final.
Right.
Whereas I'm not really crazy about jazz leaves the door open a bit more. It feels more considerate, maybe.
Makes sense. Then there's tasty, defined simply as good, like delicious.
Yeah, and the source mentioned that people might actually say tasty more often in everyday English than delicious.
Which is interesting. Maybe tasty feels a bit more, I don't know, casual.
Yeah, less formal, perhaps. Something you'd say about your sandwich at lunch.
And in the mood for, which we covered, the examples were like wanting something other than burgers. We're not feeling like a horror movie. It's about that current feeling.
Exactly. What you want right now.
Yeah.
It highlights how preferences aren't static. They shift.
Okay, the materials also had this fluency builder bit, focused on asking for and giving recommendations.
Ah, yes.
For asking, it listed things like, do you have any suggestions, any ideas, any thoughts? Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, all quite open-ended. They invite the other person to just offer whatever they think of. No pressure towards a specific type of place.
And for giving recommendations, the phrases were, I'd recommend giving it a try, and you've got to give them a try.
And it pointed out using contractions like I'd for I would.
And the informal, you got to, instead of you have got to sound more natural.
Right, and that's a really key point for sounding natural in spoken English. Those contractions make a huge difference.
Why is that, do you think? Why are they so important?
Well, they just make speech flow more smoothly. It sounds less robotic, less like you're reading from a script. It's just how native speakers tend to talk in conversation, more relaxed.
Got it. Okay, then there was also this personal story someone shared.
Ah, the food poisoning anecdote.
Yeah, in Morocco, drinking fresh orange juice, getting sick on a bus. Yikes.
It really brings that risk element home, doesn't it? Especially when traveling. Even something seemingly healthy like orange juice.
Could be risky if, like, they suspected the water used was maybe unclean or just different food handling.
Exactly. And it makes the concept of food poisoning much more real than just a definition. You remember a story like that?
Definitely links back to that idea of past experiences shaping future choices.
For sure.
So finally, there was a vocabulary wrap-up, just listing the key terms again. Check out fantastic, decor.
In the mood for light food, bistro, tasty, outstanding.
Allergic, hole in the wall, and food poisoning.
And it mentioned example sentences for each, which is always super helpful for actually learning how to use them, see them in context.
Right, just seeing the word isn't always enough.
Nope, context is everything.
Okay, so bringing this all together. After this deep dive, hopefully you've got a better handle on the language around restaurant choices.
Yeah, you've got phrases for suggesting, for asking, for politely disagreeing.
And even for dealing with those trickier situations like allergies or, well, bad past experiences.
Exactly. It shows that even a simple chat about where to grab a bite is actually, quite a complex little social interaction.
It's not just about the menu, is it? It's about communication, preferences, history.
The whole social dynamic around sharing a meal.
So here's something to chew on, maybe. Think about the last time you had one of these conversations, trying to pick a restaurant with someone.
Yeah.
Did you use any of these phrases we talked about? Things like preferences or allergies, or maybe someone remembering a bad meal come up.
Ooh, good question.
What does reflecting on that tell you about how you communicate around food and how those shared experiences work? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.